Hi everyone, and welcome to the new series of Worth the Calories, where we talk about the Great British Bake Off. I'm Matthew.
And I'm Catherine.
And this is the week, as ever, where we try to remember how we do this thing.
And the name of any of the
anyone.
bakers and who did. There's just too many bakers at the moment. Can we cut some?
It's a bit much, isn't it? It was so much easier when there were only 5 or 6 in there.
I know, right? Yeah. Lovely to have the Bake Off back on TV, though. Yeah.
Have you missed it? We've watched a lot of Bake Off over the last year, so.
Yes, I have.
Okay.
I have. I mean, I love Junior Bake Off, as you know, and I very much enjoy Bake Off the Professionals, but I feel a lot more sort of emotionally involved in the traditional Bake Off than Bake Off the Professionals.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I feel the opposite.
Oh, interesting.
Because I'm watching this thinking, right, how would I do that? How would I do that? Because I can sort of put myself in the place. The kids stuff, the Junior Bake Off is like, oh, aren't they good? I'm really impressed with them. And the Professionals is just, wow, I'm blown away by this.
Yes.
Yeah.
I must admit, I mean, I'm also quite excited about trying some of the bakes. Like, I mean, I know, I'm sure you'll explain more in a second, but I know we're not going to do our baking for this week for reasons. Holiday. But I was looking at each of the rounds. It's like, what would I do? Which one would I want to be baking this week if we were baking?
Right, okay.
Yes.
Well, we'll come to that in a second. Yes, normally we would be talking about the bakes themselves and us attempting them, and I think we will definitely be getting back to that in the series to come. But for this week, and I think for next week, we're going to just talk about the episode. We don't have the time for the baking. So, we know that everyone wants to hear us talk about it.
Yay.
That's the important stuff. The musical intro. Because we have had Jan M on Twitter say she wanted us to know about the Achy Breaky Horror Show.
It was awful. Well, no, when I say it was awful, I appreciated the 2 comedians. I thought they were funny. It was amusing. I appreciated Prue's having a go.
Yeah.
Paul was not doing it for me. It was a little bit too close to, I'd like to do this for real. Yeah,
he's a bit into it as the star of the show, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I get this feeling through... I think we've talked about this in previous series as well, but just in the feedback that we see him give, it is a little bit... It's all about his comments, and then Prue gets to say it was delicious or not.
I think by the end of the last season, I had become anti-Paul.
Right, okay.
And he's going to have to win me round, but he did not do sufficient to do so this episode.
I quite like the intro. I like that this show absolutely leans into kind of cheesy rubbish British fun. In a pastiche of not Aloe Aloe, Heidi High.
Yes,
it's got that sort of crapness to it, but in a. We know, and we're just here for gentle fun, and you're here for gentle fun, so that's what we're giving you.
And with Noel, it's got a slight tinge of coolness to it.
Yes, yeah,
like
absolutely,
that.
Yeah. And because I think the singing might have been Matt Lucas. I mean, Matt Lucas is a singer, and he is a drummer. I mean, he became famous. The thing most people know him for first in Britain is playing the drums whilst dressed up as a big baby.
Yes.
And maybe I will link to a thing about that on in your show notes if you want to see it. But so I also have that thing of like, oh, hey, yeah, he did that thing.
It's terrifying to think that I was still at school when he was doing that thing.
Oh, yeah, that was easy the 90s, yeah. Sorry.
I'm just having to rock slightly here.
Right, let's talk baking. First challenge was mini rolls.
Yes.
Which is a nice challenge.
It is a very nice challenge.
I like that as a step in. It's not too glamorous. It's not too fancy. It's not too hard. But as we've said, I think in previous years, it's a nice canvas on which to make your statement.
Yes. It also clearly separates the wheat from the chaff. Because it's possible to do something beautiful and elegant and excellent. Our Italian gentleman whose name...
Giuseppe? Am I being really stereotypical there? Giuseppe Delano.
Giuseppe.
Giuseppe of the year, Delano.
Maybe.
Could be.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So that was elegant and classic.
Yeah.
And what does it say? Almond and lemon as the flavours.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'd like to eat those.
Well, exactly. Christelle's.
Yes.
And she did the coconut covered ones. I think, the bake wasn't necessarily right. But that she can learn. Presentation is important, yeah.
And then there was some, I'm sorry, I think I could do better than that.
Yeah. Yeah. They have the time pressure on them, but this is what, Series 13 now? Something like that? Series 12? Series 12? They've got a lot of practice to be able to see people rushing and struggling and how to make sure you do it right. So, were there any mini rolls that you would want to make or particularly eat?
I do not rate my chances of producing a good mini roll.
Oh, okay.
I think the rolling and the delicateness of the construction is not my forte.
Okay.
I think it would crack, it would fold. I mean, I may need to try it just to get that fear out of my system. But the idea of mini rolls, the idea, you're the one that makes the Christmas Yule log. That's not right. That sort of finagling with my cake once it's baked. That's not something that calls to me.
Okay.
But yes.
Okay.
I would happily eat any of those that you would choose to make.
Oh, really? Really? Okay. I mean, is this partially because there was such an extreme? It almost felt like there was no one in the middle who just did it all right for a sort of home baking. Yeah. They either looked really good or had problems.
Yeah, basically. Which was fascinating to me. I mean, I guess some of it is the time pressure. Mm-hmm. And some of it is the emotional stress of being in the tent. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, some of them were awful.
Yeah.
Like, properly, have you done this before?
This?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel a bit awful saying that, and possibly what it is that they weren't awful, it's just that the thing that went wrong destroyed it. In particular, the Liverpudlian lass and the fact that she had to assemble it when things were still hot, that just made everything run out of the middle. Yep. I mean, her cake looked quite good. I quite like the fact that she was doing a sort of a giraffe effect on it. Quite frankly, the idea of chocolate and caramel is not going to be a problem for me. But yes, of course, if the cake's still hot, the cream and the caramel is going to run out the end, and it's going to look a messy mess.
A messy mess.
A messy mess.
A messy mess.
Not a tidy mess, but
messy mess.
Blooming messy mess.
I also... She seemed to be wanting to put stuff on top of it, but also do a design on the sponge. I wonder if she was hedging her bets either way. If one comes out, the other is or isn't needed.
She also doesn't seem a less is more type of person.
That's true.
I mean, true. She was wearing bunny rabbit shoes, which I don't dislike. Remember, I used to have those cat shoes.
You do have a very nice pair of slippers, very similar to that.
Yes.
Tom, who went out, made Black Forest mini rolls, and I think being up against someone making Black Forest mini rolls that were very good hurt him even more so.
Quite possibly, yeah.
I think having the example, and I particularly want to call it out because of the bit of judging we saw where Paul made the contestant Jürgen, I think
we both guessed Jürgen.
Yeah, so let's
right.
He gave him a fork and he said, "Try it." Which was that a clean fork? But fine. It's not like there's a pandemic on. But okay. He gave him a fork and told him to try it, and then said, "What do you think?" And the guy made some comments about it, and he said, "I completely agree, and this is why you should trust it." And it felt like genuine judging.
Yeah, it's good.
Actual feedback involving the person in the discussion, so they can learn and develop.
Yeah.
And I suspect that happens more often than not, but we only see the brief snippets that are Paul's summation of it. It's stodgy, overworked, whatever the 2 or 3 words he uses, and then proves it's delicious, or I don't like it, or it's sticking to my mouth, whatever her single summation is.
Yes.
And I suspect there might be even more in the feedback that we don't get to see. I want to see more of it.
I also suspect that there is feedback that they give to people who they're like, okay, you're actually good. Let me give you some constructive feedback. Mm-hmm. And there's the feedback that they give to the people that are like, this person's not going to last too long. Yeah. But we're not going to slaughter them, so let's give a feedback appropriate to their skill level. Yeah,
because there is feedback you can give to Jürgen about, some tweaks and changes and trusting and developing and so on. And there's feedback to other people to say, get your timing right and fold it properly.
Yes.
Big ticket items.
Don't tip an inch worth of chocolate on top of your mini roll.
Oh, he did that, didn't he? That was the thing where he poured it and looked awful and was really thick.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd happily eat that.
Yeah, as home baking, if someone brings into the office saying I was practicing, serving on a competition?
No.
Less so.
No. Absolutely.
So is it technical? Surprise challenge?
Technical.
It's technical, isn't it?
Yes.
Crikey. It has been a while. Was Malt Loaf.
I love Malt
Which
Loaf.
we know about because we're in the top half of the split that she gave to society.
Why has she chosen 35 as the age beneath which people wouldn't know about Malt Loaf? I mean, Serena's still sold in the British supermarkets.
Exactly.
I mean, they do lunchbox sizes, so surely there's lots of little kids going to school with lunchbox Malt Loaf.
I don't think there's anyone who comes out of that statement well, frankly.
Yeah.
So, fine. They made Malt Loaf.
Yum, I love Malt Loaf.
Yeah, I think if we had the time, we would definitely be baking this.
Yes.
Possibly both of us.
Ooh.
Exactly.
Can we have 2 Malt Loaves?
We can. I mean, maybe I'd have done one of the mini rolls.
Yeah.
Because I am interested to try the mini roll compared to a Yule log. Because a Yule log's quite easy. It's a big slab. You roll it in one, and then you pour a load of buttercream over the top of it and make it look like a log. So you've got a lot of room to hide. Mini rolls, small, delicate. But anyway, we're on Malt Loaf. It's an interesting bake as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the whole... It will be interesting... No, it will be. We will make Malt Loaf.
Okay.
Just putting that down there. It'll be interesting to sort of get a better idea of the difference between not mixing it enough and leaving flour pockets in there and mixing it too much. Like, how do you judge that moment? So, yes.
Yeah, I wonder if it's a bit like when I do muffins and I have to make sure it's mixed, but really not overmixed.
Yeah.
Because it gets overmixed really quickly. So,
But I mean, I must say, it didn't look that difficult.
No, I don't think it is. I think the difficulty is in the instructions because they didn't have a time. I'm not sure they had a temperature. And because of the colour of what you're doing, because it's so much dark sugar, and obviously the dark fruit, you can't tell when it's baked, when it's overbaked, when it's not baked
so
enough.
You need a proper temperature.
You can stick a skewer in and you can tell if it's absolutely raw because some of the batter will come out. But once it's baked a little bit, it's hard when it goes from that sort of doughy thing into an actual baked cake. So
yes.
I think that's the thing. So maybe if you do try it, you don't have a time. See how your judgment bears out.
Yeah. I can tell you, I'm not going to be faffing around making carrot crystallised ginger to go on the top of it.
No, all butter.
No, what? I think that is the whole. That's the sign of a recipe that the producers have judged to be too simple.
Yeah.
When they make them do faffing around like that.
Yeah, I mean, we can pick up some of that. I'm sure there are ways of buying butter. I'm sure.
I will do my best.
Yeah, okay.
Could buy some nice butter.
But again, I like this as a starting challenge.
Yes,
it's simple, easy to go wrong, and they very clearly saw differentiation in the baking techniques. Again, there was more of a gradient to it.
Yeah,
and I like that in the end it was this one is second because that one made it better.
Yeah,
not you got something wrong, just the experience and knowledge came into play.
I think it also gave them a steer towards people's aesthetic. For once, the look of things becomes more and more important. Yeah, because there was a great difference to how people dealt with the decoration of the faffing around stuff on the top of it.
Just to return to a point that we've previously talked about, technical challenges don't matter in the final judging. No, saying it here and now. Technical challenges will not be a part of the decision-making experience. Unless we're looking at who goes out and the two people in the bottom are absolutely even Steven on both the signature and the showstopper, which is unlikely because you can normally tell from the other two. But yeah, I think it's there as a tiebreaker. Yes. Yeah, that's fair. But... Yeah. It's a bit of fun. It's not part of the competition, I think. You're not going to win or lose just on your technical challenge. I almost wish they did it differently and said, this is where we're going to teach you a skill. And that is judging your bake or mixing your bake or, making a shoe. Something like that. Anyway, last one was gravity-defying cakes. Oh, really? No, I like the challenge. I think probably because it's coupled with those other two that are simpler, easy to do, but you can put your stamp on them. This is a big thing that you need to practice and figure out what you're doing ahead of time. And then again, we saw a really good range.
Yeah.
I think some that didn't go to brief, some that did the brief really well, and all in between of execution was good, brief was good, this wasn't good.
I suppose my only challenge, my only issue with it is right from week one, it moves it away from being about baking, and more into being about your art, your aesthetic.
Okay.
Which is fine. That clearly is a place that the show has gone now. Now that season 13, we've got to a point where the top half of the contestants, at least, are pretty guaranteed to be good, skillful bakers, and therefore the aesthetics needed to take it to that next level.
Yeah.
But I suppose I'm just like, first week I might have wanted something a bit less about the aesthetic and more about the bake.
Yeah, I can see it almost not necessarily as aesthetic, but as design. Because I don't think necessarily Jurgen's was aesthetically the best, but I think it was in the execution of the brief.
Yes,
was the thing, because I think Giuseppe's was incredibly good.
Yeah, it was. It's beautiful,
that was
stunning.
the one that I go, yeah, that absolutely defies the thing. And I think his mini rolls were best. So I was very surprised it wasn't him.
I was too.
But I don't think it's necessarily about the look of it. And obviously we know that the flavour of it and the bake of it comes into the thing, but it was how clever that design is. And I think
Jurgen's was very
that's
clever.
where Jurgen took the cleverness of it.
And whatever it was called that went out,
Tom
didn't follow the brief at all.
Well, again, I feel like we're trotting out all the classics this week because you bake to the brief. If the brief says gravity defying, you don't say leaning, because leaning is not gravity defying.
No.
If you make something that looks like it should be toppling over, it's absolutely at a slant, then maybe you could get away with it. But
and they've done gravity defying cakes before, haven't they?
Well, they've done those. I can't remember. They probably called it something different. Pouring cakes.
Yes.
Where it looks like I think was it Nadia maybe did a can of pop.
Yes.
And it just said pop on the side, things like that.
Because I was a bit like, I liked the ones where it wasn't something pouring in.
Yeah.
Because the ones pouring in, I'm like, I've seen that.
It's sort of been done quite a bit before, but the Castle and the Cloud.
That was amazing.
Terrific.
And I really liked Jurgen's lamp.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd have liked to see them eat the cake in the lamp.
Yeah, because I think there's a bit of cheating going on there, because he said he had multiple discs in it and it was screwed in. Well, that's not gravity defying. It feels like it's, we have lamps that do that thing. I don't know. It's a really hard one to define what's gravity defying or not, because if it's not gravity defying, then either it falls down or it sits there, and they were all sitting there, so they can't be gravity defying.
I feel like the gravity defying bit also has to be suitably edible.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the apple, the execution was not beautiful, but it was a great idea.
That's fair. Yeah, absolutely.
And he cut a bit of the apple out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, no. So I agree on Jurgen's. I think a lamp over a book is fine. It's not the best design. It wasn't the best looking there, but I think all of it came together for him.
That bunch of flowers.
Well,
was glorious.
Again, Christelle pushed them really well this week.
Yeah,
I think so.
I think once again, this is a week where the winner was there because of something that we can't do at home, which is taste the cake. I think Jurgen's flavours in his Swiss roll, and his mini roll or whatever it is, roll, and his flavours in that cake at the end, from their comments and actually, perhaps they were so elevated that that's what they were giving him Star Baker for.
Yeah, and I think the three of them who were up for it, who did really well, I think any of them could have taken it, and we would have been accepting of it, so that's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard because Giuseppe really has an eye for detail. Clearly has practiced a lot of this.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see how it evolves as he gets maybe less time to practice things, or how he deals with the surprise of the technical challenge.
Yes, because sometimes you have people who come in strong at the start, and clearly they've practiced their first few cakes a lot.
Yep.
But I mean, I guess with them being in the bubble, it's not like we are going to have a differentiator between people who go home and practice all week and people who go home and are an ER doctor all week, as we had one season. You know, so
because I think last year they did talk about how the final episodes, the final few rounds, let's say, they had chance to practice, but it was just a lot to keep up with and keep doing, and some of them hadn't expected, so I think one of them hadn't designed anything for the final weeks, so that'll be interesting. And I think you're right, that point of that there are people who come in who are very good and stay at that level.
Yes. And
everyone learns from them and learns what they're doing to excel, and then takes it and applies it to themselves and overtakes them and becomes really good. So it will be really interesting to see, because I think George and, was it Lizzie?
I don't know who they are.
Yeah, George and Lizzie, who almost went out, the Liverpudlian lass and the...
Oh, the Greek guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cypriot?
Yes.
George. I know that I'm really bad with names, so I'm really trying hard this year. I think is the difference going on.
I will have them down by next week.
I know. It's so much easier when you're on Teams and people just have a name in front of them. Both of them showed signs of having, I don't know, ability or enthusiasm for it, but it just didn't come off for whatever reason. So is that now going to turn out to be, actually, this isn't for them, or...
Was it first week nerves?
Exactly. It all just needs to come together. And you know, as ever, people learn from coming low. So it does set you up for good for doing later weeks where you survive these early weeks. I mean, George made a comment of, oh, they saw something in me to keep me. It's like, no, there was someone worse than you.
Yeah.
That's the take to make here, and now you need to improve so you're not always the worst.
I mean, I think Lizzie?
Yep.
I think stuff that she did has potential if she can tidy up.
Yeah.
But, I mean, was it 2 years ago or just last year that Laura who got to the final? She never tidied up.
No.
She made it all the way to the final on her taste.
Just on flavour.
And there being someone just a bit worse than her each week.
Yeah. Which you don't want.
No, you don't.
No, we want people to excel, and that be how you differentiate them.
I'm interested, although not passionately so, but I am interested to see if Freya can manage to maintain her streak of doing a really good vegan version of all of the challenge each week, because I thought... I thought she did well to... maybe this is because I just don't understand the vegan cook equipment or the ingredients so well, but I thought for what I could see, there was no lessening in quality or taste of what she was making because it was vegan.
Yeah.
So
it'd be interesting to see, and I think we will learn a lot from seeing what she does and how she approaches things.
Yes.
Because there are aspects of that cooking that do apply well to other areas. So
nice.
Yeah, it's a good start. I'm feeling quite positive about this. I think this was a good first episode.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see who pushes on from here. There's a few that I think stand out as personality or person types that we see.
Yes.
That don't necessarily survive. Again, people who play up for the camera don't often go too far in the bake-off. So it'd be interesting to see who takes that on or does it even more.
Yeah. Looking forward to next week.
Absolutely. We will be back then. Do let us know what you thought. You can find us on social media. I'm at Matthew Vose. And you can find our Twitter account or Instagram account or Facebook account if you look up at Eloquent Gushing. So now we'll get ready to bake.
Bake!